Howdy friends, Ryan from RNA Music, here to give you another little tip and tidbit advice on playing some guitar leads. We've covered some stuff, some positions of the pentatonic scale, and that's cool, and maybe we'll get to all of them at some point. But let's talk a little bit about what we already learned. So we've learned the first position of the pentatonic scale. I believe in the other videos we did it in A and E. But today I'm going to play in E minor. So a quick refresher. Box 1, E minor pentatonic. Right? So you remember that? We don't want to get stuck in that one box and just play there. You really want to learn all the other 5 positions of the pentatonic scale and make useful music out of each one of them and not get stuck having to go right there. But since that's what we've learned so far and covered that, we're going to use that box to talk about a few other things. A lot of young guys, when they very first start to learn to play scales, which is kind of your lead-in for solos, they'll start in that box, but they'll end up playing a lot of just kind of running it like it's a scale. Kind of things, and it gets a little monotonous, and it sounds like you're playing an exercise of some kind. And so we're going to talk about some ways to break out of that sort of just sounds like you're playing a scale kind of playing. So less is more sometimes. So, one way to make, do something different with playing through these pentatonic scales to make it sound more like a lead instead of an exercise is, don't play as many notes. Just pick a few notes. Alright, so instead of we're trying to do a lot of stuff, just grab one note and hold it. It's okay to repeat notes too. You don't have to just every single note play a different note. You can grab a note and hold it and repeat it. So don't be afraid to just hang out on one note. Don't try to cram a whole bunch of stuff in there. That's cool sometimes, and there are ways to do that. But don't be afraid to repeat a note. Okay. Another thing, a lot of guys at the very beginning stages of this, they don't know a lot about bending in vibrato, and so this is kind of what this video is about a little bit. Rock bends, yes, and some vibrato. So bends are a really cool way to add emotion to your lines. It's a very vocal, singer-like kind of thing to do. And most really good guitar players will do that in their solos, and it's really cool. So here's an example. I'm going to play like a little lick you might play just straight, picking each note. Then we'll see what it sounds like with the bending up to the notes. You might pick that. Okay. Alright, but how about this? Right? So what we're doing is we're playing B, D, E, B. D note up to an E, right? Well, a nice thing to do is instead of picking from that D to E, is bend this D up a whole step. If you remember, a whole step is 2 whole frets. And you give it a little vibrato at the end. Vibrato is just, you're giving the note a little wiggle. Alright? So, now, a lot of guys, they might miss their bend. Okay, so it doesn't sound quite as good. If you're going for this note and you don't make it, doesn't sound quite right. Right? So you gotta train your ear a little bit. This is a great ear training exercise. Pick the note you're going to bend up to first. Give yourself a reference pitch. Okay, that's a good way to do that. You can also, in this particular position, this 15th fret, D, we're going to bend it up to the 12th fret E. We can do double stop bends, or rock bends, or whatever you want to call them, where you pick them both. And we're bending that note up to match this note. Zach Wild does a lot of that stuff. It's great. You get this sort of clashing sound when they're together. And finally, when you bend that note up to the right pitch, they sort of line up. And you'll hear it. You can hear the waves of them smacking together, those two notes, because they're not quite right. When you get the bend in the right spot, it sounds awesome. There it is. So a couple of ways. Play the note, play your target note first, bend up to it, or do the double stop rock bends. Yep, so you got that? So adding these bends adds a lot to instead of going we're going to bend up. So that's on the 3rd string, 14th fret. So there I'm bending up a whole step and coming right back to that fretted note. So, practice your bends. Practice bending up a whole step. Use those a lot. There's also half-step bends. extra bending, you might get it right off the bat. It might take a little time. It's because it's movable. The note's moving. You're moving it around. So that's a great exercise to add a little bit more depth to your soloing, so you don't sound just like. So you got a little more emotion going on. And make some cool licks too. Like the double stop one, rock bends we were doing earlier. A little lick that's cool to play with that is. So what I'm doing is I'm bending this 15th fret D up, then releasing it, and then I'm picking the 12th fret 1st string E. So bend, kind of a bend and pick. Pick the 2nd string, bend it up, and then pick the 1st string. This makes for some great little licks. Same thing, we're going to bend up the 14th fret on the 3rd string. Pick the 12th fret, 2nd string. Very Chuck Berry kind of a thing. And on that little lick, kind of an old cliched sort of rock lick, but it sounds awesome. Double stops on the 12th fret, E and B. So you're holding down the first 2 strings with your 1st finger. Right, then we're going to bend the 3rd string, 14th fret up. And we're going to pick these double stops which we have on the 1st and 2nd string, 12th fret. So there's a little thing, a little bit for you to play around with. Have some fun with it. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. Give us a comment on Facebook. Give us a comment on our YouTube channel. Check it out. Thanks a lot, guys. Hope you got something out of it. And keep the music alive.